Blog Talk Radio.
In the councils of government, we must guard against the acquisition of unwarranted influence, whether sought or unsought, by the military-industrial complex.
In Dallas, Texas, 3 shots were fired at President Kennedy's motorcade in downtown Dallas. The first reports say that President Kennedy has been seriously wounded by this shooting.
It is a big idea, a new world order.
It was almost as if it were a planned implosion. It just pancaked.
Either you were with us or you were with the terrorists.
But I also believe that a lot of gun owners would agree that AK-47s belong in the hands of soldiers, not in the hands of criminals.
Wrongdoings of our imperial past by submitting to massive immigration into our homelands. This argument depends upon white guilt. Some of our people get a rush from indulging in ethno-masochism, but we can smash this politically correct charade simply by refusing to apologize for who we are. I'm not sorry for the colonization of indigenous peoples. After Europeans left, they went back to their third world ways. Moreover, these people create nothing new, except for dictatorship, cannibalism, poverty, and civil war. I'm not sorry for apartheid. After the native Africans took control, they slaughtered the whites in the area just as they did in Haiti. Have a look at what happened under Robert Mugabe. I'm not sorry for slavery. Every race on the planet has practiced slavery at one point or another. More whites were abducted and enslaved by Muslims than the number of blacks enslaved by whites. It was whites who founded the abolitionist movement and fought to end slavery. Today, various tribes in Africa continue to enslave each other, yet they say there's only blood on the hands of Europeans. If anything, under white rule, third world countries had a higher standard of living than they could ever produce on their own. After we leave you to yourselves, what we build for you is destroyed. We are not dependent on you. If anything, you need us. I'm not sorry for the Crusades. Our ancestors courageously fought to drive Islam out of Europe. If it weren't for their valor, our entire civilization would be under Islamic tyranny. That same heroic spirit still flows through the blood of our people today. Ethno-nationalism among Europeans is rising in the face of invaders. I'm not sorry for imperialism. The Mongols built the largest empire in human history, but nobody suggests that they should be denied their sense of cultural and racial identity. The issue isn't that our ancestors were imperialists. It's that we were the best at it. We came, we saw, we conquered. Such allegations against the entire white world are just excuses to rob us of our once prosperous homelands. Saudi Arabia insists that Europe should take in more refugees when they're a rich oil state capable of housing millions of them. Instead of importing their own kinsmen to their country, they offer to build mosques in Germany. I'm not sorry for the alleged Holocaust. The Soviet commissars murdered at least 30 million of my people in Eastern Europe. We don't hear about these atrocities because Jews weren't the victims, but the culprits. I refuse to shed a tear for your Hollywood narrative. When the Jews fled Europe following the Second World War, they proceeded to ethnically cleanse the Palestinians to establish Israel. This displacement in the Middle East created resentment towards the Western world. The Zionists drive them out, and we have to take them in. Liberals will claim they're standing for human rights, but the minute you tell them whites have the right to self-determination, they scream, "You're part of the problem," thereby embracing the cultural and demographic genocide of a race that has created the very civilization they take for granted. There's no point in apologizing anyway. They merely see it as a sign of weakness and will attack you even harder. The only way to stand up for yourself and your people is to refuse to apologize.
All right, everybody. Restoring our republic. There you go. Telling it like it is. Yeah, you won't hear that on the 6 o'clock news. Let me tell you that right now. All right. Anybody out there who wants to contribute here to the podcast tonight, of course, you're more than welcome. 657-383-0616. I know I talked to Mike down there in Florida. He said he had a couple points he wanted to bring across tonight. But I don't know where he is. I don't see his number on the call board. So, Mike, if you're out there listening, put your hand up. I got somebody who put their hand up, so let's put them on. Bring them on. 414. Go ahead.
I'm just saying hello. Sitting in the shadows here. This is Josh in Wisconsin.
Hey, how you doing, Josh? How you doing?
Good.
Like, play a little different intro there tonight. I was wondering where Mike is. Mike called me, said he was going to be on. I don't know where he is, so I guess I'll kind of stutter and stomp here a little bit for a few minutes until he calls in. I don't know where he is. So I just talked to him about 5-10 minutes ago. He knows I do an intro. That's why. So he doesn't like the intros. He doesn't like sit there listening to them. But I guess I'll sit here and wait for him. But we trying to come up with solutions, trying to build this righteous army. And and everybody's got the still on the Trump train. Think Trump's going to save us. I mean, that's the narrative in the corporate news media. Trump, and and they're taking their polls for the election from 6 years from now. Well, Trump wins from 6 years from now. And for God's sake, the election's not until 2024. They didn't have done a primary yet. Primaries haven't even gone. They're doing polls for the Nikki Haley and Scott and DeSantis and Trump. And Trump's winning by 34 points. So hey, I don't think any of them are going to save us, to be honest with you. I think it's going to be the same thing over and over. It's just the same nonsense. They're going to lead us into World War III. I mean, with China, they're over there provoking China now. So, China's going to attack Taiwan. What do you think? You think they think that China will attack Taiwan? Think they'll actually do it? I don't know. I would say, it would depend on how they provoke them, but if they do attack Taiwan, it's just going to be a mess. And who's going to come out on top? The New World Order. That's what's going to happen. So, New Orleans Wake Up there. He's in the chat room. Well, you missed my intro. Oh, he would have loved that one. That one right there. He would have loved that one. I'm not going to play it again. Where's Mike? Come on, Mike. Call in, otherwise I'm going to get to the podcast here. You're late, man. You're late. Mike down in Florida, where are you? Oh, man. There he is. Greetings. Yeah, greetings. New Orleans Wake Up. Let's see here. Okay, what can I get to here? News story. Cover some news stories then until Mike gets here. Man, you see, Mike, you're throwing me off, man. Throwing me off, brother. Let's see here. He said he had some people that wanted to call in and also that he wanted to contribute. So, let's see here. News stories. Okay, here. Let's see. What do we got? NWO mouthpiece forced to eat his words after claiming, let's see here. No, we don't want to go to that one. All right, here we go. Tuesday War Room, that's InfoWars. No, we don't want to go to that one. All right, Hillary Clinton claims MAGA Republicans responsible for summer heat. Conflict of interest, close. Biden political aide worked for Attorney Weiss when Hunter Biden probe began. General consensus, COVID jab to blame for 18-year-old Bronny James cardiac arrest. Let's see here. Singer Tori Kelly hospitalized after collapsing. Doctors discovered blood clots. What's with these blood clots? All these blood clots. Everybody's got blood clots now, huh? You ever heard so many stories about blood clots? Number of U.S. corporate defaults already bigger than last year. Pennsylvania minimum wage, Condorum. Let's see, exclusive. Mercola exposes COVID lockdown as trial run for next engineered pandemic crisis. So those are the stories out there. Those are the headlines. Let's see here. Exclusive coverage. LeBron James' son suffers heart attack following deadly COVID shot. How about that one, huh? You don't hear about that one on ESPN, do you? Oh, boy. Let's see here. Make Ukraine great again. There we go. $400 million of aid going their way. Meanwhile, our borders are open. Our borders are not secure, and We're going to make sure we fund that war over there. We don't want Putin winning. Let's see here, exposing anything. There's the latest poll on InfoWars, actually. Why is Biden sending troops to Ukraine? Why is Biden sending troops to Ukraine, with a question mark, to prepare for official U.S. attack against Russia? Or is it a stunt to appease NATO? Or is it to distract domestic scandals? Or is it as a bluff against Russia? I don't know. I don't know. That's the question that they got up on InfoWars there. So, I would probably put to as a stunt to appease NATO. I don't think we'll actually go to war with Russia. I don't think that'll happen. Father of son murdered by COVID shot. There, that's him. Gonna get along with you someday. Number of us corporate defaults already bigger than last year. I already went over that one. Trump calls on Congress to investigate DOJ and FBI's political witch hunts against him before 2024 election. And let's see here. Tuesday, let's see. No, complex. All right, there we go. Those are stories. Oh, again, this website that I got up there, Nation Builder, paying $175 a month for you guys to use it. Not one person has logged in there and done anything yet. So, this is what I'm talking about. I got to pay for this website so you guys can use it, and nobody. Oh, there's Mike. There he is. Okay, Mike, there he is. All right, go ahead, Mike. You're on. I'm installing here, trying to get you. Go ahead.
Hey, brother. Yeah. So I'm, still trying to work out something here. I went ahead on Zoom. I'm not paying for Zoom anymore, so I'm only going to get 45 minutes on Zoom. Alan is out in Colorado right now with StreamYard, and I joined him on StreamYard, but I left StreamYard, and I'm with Alan on Zoom. But I sent the phone number out to about 10 people via text. I sent the StreamYard link out to about 10 people. And Alan has how many people with you there on StreamYard, Alan?
Right now I have 2.
Yeah, there's a couple. There was 5 earlier. I don't know what happened.
Well, got to build up that listening base.
If I had better notice, we do have some back rooms that we use for the radio station. They're actually convention connections. Up to 100 people can join.
Yeah, well, we need to try to plan something out better.
Number for that too.
Yeah, because I'm doing this at the last minute.
Well, what I'm saying is that's paid by the radio station. You're not going to have to pay for Zoom.
Right, and that's with Jitsi?
It's called Jitsi, and we have our own accounts there.
All right.
I can hear Alan real good, Mike. I can hear Alan real clear, so that's good.
Can you hear Joseph real good as well, Alan?
Yes.
All right, and I hear you fine. So I got my cell phone laying down on my laptop, and I got my Zoom open on my laptop, and just me and Alan right now are on Zoom. I think I'll try to call a couple of people on my phone and see if I can get them to join.
Good. I got this guy who wants me to...
Unless they call in. I mean, put out the
word. Yeah. Unless they call in, unless they call in, exactly.
See who has called in. Try to see how many people have called in, because I sent the Blog Talk number as well as the Zoom link and the StreamYard link. So
I got a few. I got one guy in my chat room. He wants to play this 2-minute intro again. He wants me to play this. So while you get your stuff together, I'll play this again. This 2-minute intro. I guess a couple people. Actually, there's 3 people now that want to hear it. So because I was waiting on you, Mike.
I'm here.
So Josh is here. I forgot to tell you that. Yeah, Josh is here from Wisconsin. So that's good. So he already heard it. So, but I'll play this one, and then maybe we can talk about it, maybe, because I think this brought a heated conversation a couple weeks ago on my show. So we'll play this one again.
In here that we must pay for alleged wrongdoings of our imperial past by submitting to massive immigration into our homeland. This argument depends upon white guilt. Some of our people get a rush from indulging in ethno-masochism, but we can smash this politically correct charade simply by refusing to apologize for who we are. I'm not sorry for the colonization of indigenous peoples. After Europeans left, they went back to their third world ways. Moreover, these people create nothing new, except for dictatorship, cannibalism, poverty, and civil war. I'm not sorry for apartheid. After the native Africans took control, they slaughtered the whites in the area just as they did in Haiti. Have a look at what happened under Robert Mugabe. I'm not sorry for slavery. Every race on the planet has practiced slavery at one point or another. More whites were abducted and enslaved by Muslims than the number of blacks enslaved by whites. It was whites who founded the abolitionist movement and fought to end slavery. Today, various tribes in Africa continue to enslave each other, yet they say there's only blood on the hands of Europeans. If anything, under white rule, third world countries had a higher standard of living than they could ever produce on their own. After we leave you to yourselves, what we build for you is destroyed. We are not dependent on you. If anything, you need us. I'm not sorry for the Crusades. Our ancestors courageously fought to drive Islam out of Europe. If it weren't for their valor, our entire civilization would be under Islamic tyranny. That same heroic spirit still flows through the blood of our people today. Ethno-nationalism among Europeans is rising in the face of invaders. I'm not sorry for imperialism. The Mongols built the largest empire in human history, but nobody suggests that they should be denied their sense of cultural and racial identity. The issue isn't that our ancestors were imperialists. It's that we were the best at it. We came, we saw, we conquered. Such allegations against the entire white world are just excuses to rob us of our once prosperous homelands. Saudi Arabia insists that Europe should take in more refugees when they're a rich oil state capable of housing millions of them. Instead of importing their own kinsmen to their country, they offer to build mosques in Germany. I'm not sorry for the alleged Holocaust. The Soviet commissars murdered at least 30 million of my people in Eastern Europe. We don't hear about these atrocities because Jews weren't the victims, but the culprits. I refuse to shed a tear for your Hollywood narrative. When the Jews fled Europe following the Second World War, they proceeded to ethnically cleanse the Palestinians to establish Israel. This displacement in the Middle East created resentment towards the Western world. The Zionists drive them out, and we have to take them in. Liberals will claim they're standing for human rights, but the minute you tell them whites have the right to self-determination, they scream, "You're part of the problem," thereby embracing the cultural and demographic genocide of a race that has created the very civilization they take for granted. There's no point in apologizing anyway. They merely see it as a sign of weakness and will attack you even harder. The only way to stand up for yourself and your people is to refuse to apologize. We're not.
All right, there you go. So hopefully the other two people got it. I know Warren there. He's going to complain about that one. But there you go. So anyway, all right, let me bring on 234. You got your hand up there. Go ahead, 234.
Yeah, you got Dave from Ohio here. Good afternoon,
all right.
everybody.
Hey, Dave.
Mr. Tave, how you doing? Well, we know I think that intro right there that I played right there, of course, you won't hear that on the 6 o'clock news. You won't hear that on a radio station ad, and it's pretty much true. That's what these liberals do, and you see the marginalization of the white male today in society. You see the TV shows where they're made fun of. They're gay, weak, stupid. Or you see the commercials where they're made fun of. And that's what you have out there today in society. And it's time people call it for what it is, call a spade for a spade, and tell the truth. And this is a lot of the problems that we have out there. We have a weak society, a weak people. You got men playing in women's sports, and we have to accept this crap? No. This is the destruction of our country right before our very eyes, and we're allowing it to happen. And we think Trump's going to save us. Not going to happen. It's not going to happen. America's not going to be made great again until we make it great again, we the people. So let me bring on 323 here. 323, go ahead.
Yeah, good evening, Joe. How are you? I'm just listening to your propaganda and your hatred as usual. But we're planning to show ourselves at 6 p.m. And I listened to your introduction. A lot of it is false. It is garbage, man. It's based on white supremacy.
Well, why is it false? I'll let you speak. Why is it false?
Okay,
why is it false? What's false?
Okay, why do you? And I bet you support Governor DeSantis of Florida, don't you?
Well, wait a second. Governor DeSantis wasn't in my intro. You said my intro was false. This is what liberals do.
Okay.
This is what the far right does.
Okay, Joe. Okay. like I said, when you came on our podcast before, my position has not changed. The biggest goddamn lie ever told was black people sold themselves into slavery, okay? The Europeans came in with divide and conquer techniques, and you never put the fact that the ones that did the selling got captured also, okay? But fortunately, I know better than that, you know what I'm saying? You got the right to free speech or whatever. You have individuals calling up my show. You've called up my show, been very, very disrespectful. We're coming on at 6 p.m. Tonight, and the governor of Florida should be impeached. And a guy like Trump, he's stating how he honestly feels. So, and I know with my people, you got a lot of these ass scratchers, Uncle Tim Scotts, what have you, Eric Adams, some type of individuals, and they are very much a detriment to the black community, and we call them out as well, too.
Well, I agree with you there. I agree with you there.
Okay, hold it. Okay, I'm not trying to tell you how to run your show because you know how I run my ship. Okay, but at the same time,
I know. I would have never got this long to speak. But I figured I'd be a little bigger than you, and I'd allow you to go ahead and speak. So go ahead.
Oh, okay. Well, Joe, like I said, I'll let you speak before many times, although that what you said were downright lies and what have you. Okay, and that's why I would say, hey, let the man speak, then I come to you with facts. Okay, guys like Tim Scott, Eric Adams, man, that Uncle Tom syndrome, man, that you white guys love down in the South, man, that's over with, man. That is over with. This is why we created the hashtag resurrection of the mental dead. Any idiot that gets up there and says from the South, particularly South Carolina, that says that America is not a racist country, that individual is sick. Okay, he's really sick. But I know the syndrome of what he's going through is because that there, to appeal his master and what have you.
Okay, can you give me some examples of racism? Can you give me some examples of racism that you suffer today?
Oh, every day, man, we go through it. Every day we go through it.
Yeah, can you give me some examples, though?
The banking system. Oh, yeah, sure, absolutely. Redlining, okay, being stopped by the police with no probable cause, being marginalized is because we state facts from our perspective, you know what I'm saying? Then you come up here with some Eurocentric garbage, you see, and keep in mind that we are the original man. We've been on this planet from the beginning of time. And also, too, Joe, you never answered this question. We were building pyramids. We had the concept of bathing when you guys are sitting up there crawling on all fours, eating raw meat, living in caves.
That's the 5%er view, yeah. That's the 5%er view, yep. And you wake up with earwax and you hear the devil pissed in it, yes.
No, that's what you people were doing. That's what you people were doing.
Yeah, hang on. I got somebody who wants to refute your claim, so hang on. So go ahead, Mike.
Look,
go ahead.
Man, check us out. Give us a call. Hold on. Hold your thoughts, sir. Give us a call at 516-418-5996
I know, he's not going to let you. Shabaka,
in about 30 minutes.
Shabaka, we'd be more than happy to, but you're not going to let anybody speak on your show because I've been on your show and I get cut off and muted. But I've allowed you to present your facts. Now let my guy refute your facts with facts, please. Go ahead, Mike.
Okay, so, let me just clarify a few things. First of all, again, Joe, I got you on my cell phone. My cell phone is sitting on my laptop. My laptop has Zoom open with Alan, who's in Colorado. Alan is in StreamYard, and he's got a few people on StreamYard. And my good friend and brother and truther that is here with me where I'm at has, been having difficulties. He's trying to listen. There's a lot of feedback through StreamYard, he said. On the phone with me, I have Dan, Daniel Johns in South Florida, and I want to let Dan go ahead and comment because you don't see him on the line, but I have him with me. So, Dan, please comment to the man who just made his very inaccurate comments. The intro was fantastic, but Dan, go ahead and comment.
Well, I don't even know where to begin. I mean, there's so many falsehoods that were mentioned there, especially I found it comical that, they were advanced civilization when we were on all fours. First of all, that implies evolution, which is a complete farce. I mean, where do you begin? I don't know why you're wasting time with this guy. I really don't. I mean,
well, Well,
you could literally
I allowed him to make his comments. He does a podcast show, so he made some comments. But you know, and again, I know they're comical, but I know you know your thing, Dan. And I was just hoping maybe you could put his comments to shame and give him some facts about history.
Well, all you got to do is buy Charles Murray's book, Human Accomplishment. It's quite an epic book. It's about 1.5 inches thick because it's a catalog of all of human accomplishment, and even Charles Murray, who is not by any means identity or right wing or any of this stuff, but even he says in his book that virtually like 99% of what we call civilization was brought about by our people. Okay, yeah. And the other thing of it is. So that right there in one book. Now, there's other books by many other authors, but that one there is like a classic. The point of it is, all you got to do is ask this question. If every non-white left the United States of America, what would America be like? All right? So the answer to that question is obvious. We would be self-sufficient. We would be happy. We would be almost crime-free. We would have the highest educational standards. We'd have, you know, everything would be golden. And nobody can argue that. Okay? So this whole idea that these other people were somehow here before us and they created civilization all just shows the ignorance that people have. They watch too many goddamn movies. All right? They watch these stupid-ass Hollywood movies that portray everything in reverse. And they actually believe it.
Yeah. Well, he's one of those he's a Black Panther 5%er. He's a Black Panther 5%er. And, you know, if you woke up with earwax in your ear, the devil pissed in it, you know, one of those types of beliefs. So that type of belief is obviously, you know, you're not going to get anywhere. I got a private caller that maybe wants to comment on this, too. So I'll bring him on, too, and see what he's got to say. Go ahead, private caller.
Greetings, Joe. This is Brother Warren, host of New Orleans Wake Up, one of the hottest shows on the Blog Talk Sphere, and you guys can get up from prostrating. I really appreciate that. I'd like to respond to the caller just now speaking. He posed a question. He said, if all non-white people left the United States, what would it be? You would have sheer chaos on your hands. Why? Because it will require more whites to be exploited to take the place of the blacks. You see, what you guys don't address is the white population in America has a severe class distinction. I know very wealthy whites who couldn't stand to be in your presence at all. In fact, in many cases, many wealthy whites, I can go into their home because I can at least be a butler or something. But for some of you guys, and you all know this, you all know that there are very wealthy whites who can't stand you. So if the black population, which is the largest non-white population, if you was to snap your fingers and made that group disappear, you all would be the blacks. And you would be severely exploited, and it would be a mass chaos. It would be a real civil war going on again in this country.
Dan, you want to make a comment back at that?
Well, first of all, I think he's confusing what he calls wealthy whites with Jews, and Jews aren't white. Okay.
Wealthy whites who are Germanic, Anglo-Saxon, French heritage, etc. Okay.
Yeah, well, that's a lot of Jews come from Germany and they call themselves German, but they're still Jews.
I'm talking about wealthy whites who also discriminate against Jews. Okay.
The point.
Now, let me give you an example.
We saw how that worked out in World War II. We saw a successful country called Germany. I think it was very successful. Nationalism, I believe.
Hold on.
Where they got rid of the Jew.
We've already been through this. When the Irish came here, they were treated below blacks.
Sir, let me say this. Let me say this.
Hang on, Warren. Hang on. Let him finish.
Yeah, I love it when I walk all over you.
Yeah,
okay, even if the Irish were treated below blacks, remember it was other whites that treated the Irish that way. That's exactly my point.
Yeah,
you have severe class distinction. Okay, and the founding fathers,
the Caucasians that own blacks. What's the percentage of actual Caucasians that own blacks versus Jews that own blacks?
Well, I mean, I don't understand what point you're trying to get to. I'm addressing the class distinction. I'm addressing. You are evading a quintessential point that there is a class distinction among whites in this country. There are very wealthy whites, not Jews. They're Episcopalian, they're Catholic, they're Lutheran, they're Southern Baptist. There are some very wealthy whites who cannot stand any of you guys here on the phone, and you wouldn't be allowed nowhere near their property or their daughters and sons.
Can I comment on that, please?
They're not truly white. They are of Jewish descent.
Oh, that's the way you escape. See, that's the fantasy you crafted to escape this. You see, you guys are full of fantasy.
A lot of facts.
We don't have those
facts. You don't have any of those books, do you, down there in the French
So you're
Quarter?
telling us what it is to be white now. That's funny.
Pardon?
You're telling us what it is to be white now. You're going to tell us what it is to walk as a white man out here.
What I'm telling you is that they have always been a class distinction among the white population in the United States, and that the working class whites, the poor whites, have been despised by the elite wealthy whites in this country, and you know it.
They're not white. We're trying to tell you. The extreme wealthy are of the Jewish descent, the Turkish Mongols.
Sir, that's a bunch of hogwash you're talking, and you know
it. Is it really?
There you go.
You need to do some research on exactly who brought and owned the boats that brought.
I'll tell you what. Come to New Orleans, and I'll bring you to St. Charles Avenue, where whites who are not Jewish live in some of the largest stately homes. And they wouldn't let you, they'll call the police when they look at you. They call you trash. That's the word they use, not black people. They call you trash.
I don't know what facts you have to back that up.
Try it yourself.
That's all hearsay.
Go to some wealthy white person's property. Go walk up to some wealthy white person's property and see what happens to you.
I do it all the time. Especially when I own a landscaping business. I do it all the time.
All right, well,
so what are you talking about?
Fair enough. But Joe, they would not hobnob with you, and you would not be a part of their social circle, sir.
Sure they would. I mean, what are you trying to use? Examples here? I mean, I've dated women in college that were rich, that came from rich families. What are you talking about? My father worked at Yale University. I used to go down there and hang out with the Ivy League students. What are you talking about? Your narrative is false.
Let me explain something to you. When FDR implemented the programs to get this country out of the Great Depression, you know, FDR was not Jewish, and he was a very wealthy come from a wealthy white family. And all of their social circles were wealthy white people. And when FDR implemented those programs of what you call the New Deal, that alleviated poverty for a lot of white people in this country. FDR used to sit out on his deck by the river where he lived. And all his rich white friends would come sailing down in their sailboats and turn their back on him. They despised him for reaching out to the poor people in this country and to help uplift them. If you take non-white people out of this country, it would be sheer chaos because people like you and these guys on the phone would be fighting those rich capitalists.
Aren't you going to disappear for 3 months?
You know what
you got to go back to jail? You got to serve time or something?
He tells
Don't go do your 3 months.
You know, he really puts it out there. Really shows his backside.
Mr. Warren, I think you're wrong. You're making a false assumption.
Joe, you and your buddies are really on some serious fentanyl if you don't think there's not a class structure among white people in this country.
Well, I don't know what your point is.
I do all white drugs. All white drugs.
Again, Mr. Warren, but that doesn't give you the excuses. Why hasn't your people pulled themselves up from the bootstraps? The Irish have done it. The Italians have done it. The French have done it. All the other classes.
Joe, let's deal with one point at a time.
If your theory be true, then what's wrong with your people?
Joe, all right. I'm going to concede defeat, Joe. Black people ain't nothing. Black people lazy. They take from white people. They don't pay taxes. We inferior. I'm going to agree with everything you believe, Joe. But do not dismiss. No, no. You win. No, Joe, you win. I'm from a despicable race. We're animals. We're monkeys, all of that. But do not sit here and pretend like there's not a clique of white people who are very powerful who don't despise you and your working class elements.
Are you talking about the New World Order elites that we're fighting against? Like the Rothschilds, the J.P. Morgans, and the scumbag bankers like that? Or is that what you're talking about? They're our enemies.
Those are Jews, by the way, but go ahead.
Yeah.
Not one time that Joe said that there wasn't any blacks that didn't pay taxes. He didn't solidify and say and single out that blacks, just like you said, Warren, with a bunch of bullshit lies out of your mouth just now. He didn't specifically say that. You turn and say that we automatically believe that blacks don't pay their taxes or blacks are lower than us, that they're criminals. You say that. No, they're all
you guys are trying to. You guys are trying to.
People like
you guys. Let me tell you something. You guys are trying to change the subject from the fact that among the white population in the United States, there is a serious class structure.
We keep saying,
so Warren, what's the solution? So what's the solution then, Warren? What's your solution, Warren?
Can everybody Joseph.
Joe.
Hang on, Warren, hang on. I got Mike back on the phone here. Hang on.
I got to clarify some issues real quick. Please let me clarify a few things. My phone died. Just so I got to make this so we know what's going on here. I had some people on the phone. My phone died. Daniel came on to Zoom now, the fellow that was speaking earlier. He's on Zoom with me, so he's listening through my phone. I had some comments I want to make. I'll hold off on that, but I just wanted you to know there's some people trying to speak, and they don't know to press 1. So please make
they got to press
comment.
1. When they call in, they got to press 1. So I got somebody now. 623. Go ahead, 623. Go ahead.
No, Joe, I need to respond to your question actually about a solution, Joe.
Hang on, Warren. I'm out.
Okay.
Go ahead, 623.
Hey, bro. Hey, this is Joe Malone.
Okay, Joe. How you doing?
Candidate. We had our discussion earlier about Midnight Productions. I'm going to talk about that right now, but I actually want to really bring something together that I feel what this man is saying. So, for instance, the Democrats, they constantly exploit this idea that they're going to promote, a solution to mass incarceration. But what is their solution? It's abolish all prisons. Well, that's not a solution. That creates more chaos. And at the same time, the Republican Party, what did they propose? They're supposed to be fiscally conservative, so we should not be putting people in prison who do not belong there for terms, sentences that violate our 8th Amendment, right? And that's what they're doing. This is divide and conquer. They're dividing us and they're conquering us and they're winning. And here's the thing. I don't care if you're black, white, or brown. You're all being screwed over at this point. And you know
but that doesn't work, Joe. Joe, but hang on, that doesn't work. Most of the black community can't stand the Constitution. They can't stand American history. They can't stand the European culture. That's a fact. So what do you do with those people? The world that hold hands?
They have created that perception, but it's a lie. It's not true. They want their rights. They want their Second Amendment rights. You know how many black people I can walk up to and say, hey, are you a felon? You have a right to possess a firearm?
Joe, I just had a 5%er. Hang on, Joe. I just had a 5%er Black Panther on the line a few minutes ago. No, they don't want their right. They don't care less. They don't respect our laws at all.
Can I intervene, Joe? Can I interview?
Hang on, Hang on, I got this guy Joe on right now. We'll give him a chance to speak. Go ahead, Joe.
No, actually, what was he gonna say? I want to hear what Mike had to say.
It's not Mike, it's Warren. Go ahead, Warren.
Yeah, when I called in,
sorry, my bad.
When I called in, I specifically addressed a question that a caller said, what would America be if all the non-white people were gone? And I maintain, based off my knowledge of how this society is structured, that you would have a civil war among the whites because the wealthy whites would need to replace the blacks with another exploitative
But that experiment, now time out now, Warren. Time out. That experiment has already been tried and done. That experiment was done in Germany.
Hold up. Let me recommend this book from an LSU professor. And whoever listens to me could Google the book. Let me recommend this book from an LSU professor. You can Google the book and you can type her name on YouTube to hear her speeches. Her name is Nancy Eisenberg, and this is the name of the book. White Trash, the 400-year untold history of class in America. Now, that term, white trash, that comes from the rich whites. The elite whites called the poor whites coming in from Ireland and Scotland and Wales. They called them trash.
Warren, we got your Warren, I got your narrative on that already, okay? Go ahead, Joe.
Let Mike say something.
Mike, I'm sorry, Mike from Florida. Go ahead.
All right, this is Mike Singer. All right,
Mike.
And for the record, Mike Singer with thebigvirushoax.com and righteousarmy.org, working with Joe here on these programs, trying to get it with Alan out in Colorado through StreamYard, through Zoom. We're trying to get the word out. But let me just clarify some things, okay? For my black brothers that are on the show and that are listening and that came and that went and all of them, look, I believe I speak for the vast majority of every one of my white brothers in this nation. We love all people. The problem is, as Tate addressed a week or two ago, the forced amalgamation.
Well, Mike, I just lost you again.
Yeah, we lost you, Mike.
Mike,
Joe,
just lost you.
Joe, let me answer your question. What's the solution? Well, Joe, I, as a person from an inferior race, from a cursed race.
No, bro, you're not inferior.
I can't.
To me.
It's not my place to tell you white folks how to solve y'all differences.
Stop believing that. Like, if you
can't talk over each other. I'm going to start muting people. We can't let him finish his point. Just because you disagree with him, you can't talk over him.
Yeah,
otherwise
so
it's not going to work.
My bad.
I, as a black person from an inferior race, a race cursed by God, a race who pays no taxes and are lazy and mentally, intellectually inferior, and it's not my place to tell you white folks how to solve y'all differences among each other. But you got serious differences. That's why Hillary Clinton and her type, who are not Jewish,
All right, Warren, you're right there. Warren, time out. I don't care about Hillary Clinton. Now you're going into a narrative speech. I asked you a specific question. What the solution was, you don't have it. Warren,
I'm telling you that there are white people. There are very elite white people.
That's it, Warren. That's it. I got to mute you. Go ahead, Joe. Now go ahead, make your point. I'll bring you back on, Warren, when he's done. Go ahead, Joe.
All right. Hey, Warren. I really appreciate your say in that, but I'm telling you, dude, the majority, far percent of 90% of white people do not feel that you are inferior. So don't ever think that. That's a lie. We do not think that, and that's only the lie they keep propagating, so that we are divided. I mean, you can look at like certain movements, whether it was like the Boogaloo movement, how they wanted to connect the Black Lives Matter, but what always happens, a mainstream narrative always comes in and separates us from who our true enemy is. And our true enemy is the United States government. It's the military-industrial complex. These people that have been using lies for decades to just promote money. They want oil. They want opium. That's all they want. That's what Iraq and Afghanistan was all about. It was never about any freedom movement. And I'm so upset because I know how many white people have been manipulated by this agenda that, like, oh, it's about our freedom. No, it's not. And also, there's a lot of people that have woken up. We've woken up together, dude, about the deep state. And the deep state is our real enemy. It's all of
All right, Joe. Let me bring him back on, Joe. All right. Now, listen, he typed in the chat room, but his main thing is that there's rich white people that will hate poor white people, and that's listen. He found a talking point there that makes no sense, and it's absolutely. We understand that the Jews and the bankers and the Rothschilds and the J.P. Morgans and the Carnegies, we know them rich scumbags, the bankers. We know about them. They're no good. They're filthy, rotten criminals. And of course they don't like it. They hate all people. Hang on, Joe. Let me bring on Warren back. Go ahead, Warren.
Black, white, or brown, they hate all.
Joe,
bro.
Joe, what was the point in the characters on the Beverly Hillbilly of Mr. and Mrs. Drysdale in the Clampets? Mrs. Drysdale represented a class of whites who despised those kind of whites.
A TV show.
But here's the thing.
It was a TV show.
No.
Women sarcasm off reality.
It was Jewish actors. Jewish actors. Go ahead.
Owned by a Hollywood Jewish-owned propagandist machine.
My response.
So the Jews are your escape mechanism.
But there's a problem. There's a problem. They are the problem. Not all Jews, but a majority of the Zionist Jews. Joe, you can't talk over everybody, Joe, please. Mike, are you back on? Mike, are you back on? I think Mike's having problems connecting for some reason. I don't know why. I see his number on the screen, but he's not. He can't get on. All right, Joe, go ahead now. You want to make a point? Go ahead.
Yeah, well, think about like the Beverly Hillbillies. All of this stuff was psychologically engineered, and it doesn't come back to like the white people. It comes back to these Zionist crazy motherfuckers, and they're not Jews. We can't even call them Jews. Like that's the whole thing. Even when you saw this episode with Kanye West. And he's saying they're Jews. Even Jesus Christ in the Bible said these are not Jews. They are a synagogue of Satan. They are evil, manipulative people.
They're using Hollywood. God is Lucifer.
But caller, let's go back into American history. Why was Andrew Jackson popular among the poor white farmers? Because the founding fathers before Andrew Jackson were elitists. They were rich, wealthy people, and so therefore you could not vote unless you own land. Unless you own land.
Where did you get your history from, Warren?
Andrew Jackson
wanted to abolish the Federal Reserve. They shot him for that.
But Andrew Jackson also was popular among the white farmers. He was not from the same elite crowd as Thomas Jefferson.
Time out. Listen, Mike's back on now. But, Joe, no, there was no Federal Reserve when Andrew Jackson was president. That's not. His campaign was no bank. He was against the nationalization of the banks.
But they wanted to create the Federal Reserve, and they shot him for that because he resisted the Federal Reserve.
That statement I'll stand by, but there was no Federal Reserve at the time. Okay, there was no.
Right,
there was in the United States.
Yeah.
All right. Okay.
Yes,
305. Go ahead, Mike. Now you finally got your connection problem solved. Go ahead. Yes.
Can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead, Mike.
Can you hear me? All right, I'm going to say just a quick thing, and then Daniel's had his hand raised for some time on Zoom, so I want to let Daniel come back in if you'll let him come in after I speak. But what I was trying to say to the black listeners and to the black brothers that you got on the show here is the big problem, and Tave hit on it a week or two ago, is this forced multiculturalism, this forced amalgamation of the races, which is being done by I call it the Jew psyop. Because this whole thing about Jews itself is a psyop, try to get people like they're anti-Semites, they hate Jews so they can pigeonhole them. The point is, there's a group of people in this world, and when Warren, I think it was talking about the rich elite and how they have a problem with us guys, most of those rich elite are all in that so-called Jew community, self-proclaimed Jew.
That's not true.
Let me
That's
finish.
not true. That's not true.
Let me finish. Revelation 2:9 and Revelation 3:9. Read it. Warren, those that call themselves Jews but are not, but they're totally heading this whole Jew psyop, and they're the ones that own the Fed, they own the banks, they own Hollywood, they own everything. They're the ones that have created all the division. They're the ones that pay with their money to force
let me
Chinese and Indians.
Let him finish, Warren.
They're the ones that are literally paying They're the ones that are literally paying with their money to infiltrate primarily dominantly white, Caucasian, Anglo-Saxon, Celtic nations. They will infiltrate them with all these other races
Even South
for
Africa.
the express purpose.
Let me see this. Let me see this.
Look, hold on. I'm not finished, please. And I would highly recommend, Warren, that you watch all 12 hours of Europa the Last Battle and educate yourself on some issues. And that would be the best documentary to do it on. It's not about hate, brother. I love you as a human being. I love all people that are decent, godly people. There's bad people in all races. There's bad white people. There's good white people. There's bad black people. There's good white people. The ultimate thing is, are you godly? Are you in Yahweh? Are you in the Creator? Are you one who has surrendered your life unto the Creator, God Almighty? You acknowledge God every day. You give thanks to God every day. Are you righteous?
Yes,
are you seeking God's righteousness through Yeshua?
Yeah. See what you're doing. See what you're doing. See what you're doing.
Hold on. Please let me finish.
He's not done.
That's the right camp. That's the right camp, and that's the majority of the way, quote-unquote, white people feel. All the confusion and the so-called racism is all a media-driven psyop that they've got people suckered into. I tell people all the time, I'm a racist, brother, because I believe there's a Creator, God Almighty, who created all of the unique, beautiful, different races of human beings. I appreciate the uniqueness and the value and the beauty of all the races. I respect and honor them all, and I believe they should all be protected and preserved. And that's the complete opposite of how they're forcing all the races to be amalgamated, and they're using it on the TV shows to put down the white people, like Joe was saying, make them stupid, make them idiots, and forcefully and by design, they're watering down the
manipulate us.
So
let me see what you guys.
Because I asked Joseph.
You can talk, Warren. Let him finish.
Hold on. I wanted to say my piece, and then I asked Joseph to let Daniel speak. So now Daniel's going to say a few words.
Go ahead. Then you can go, Warren.
Thank you, Mike.
While I'm talking.
Yeah. I'm going to mute everybody for now.
Charity. All right. Because it's annoying to anybody listening to the recording or to the live show when there's 6 people trying to talk over each other. So I'm going to recommend just mute whoever's not on the floor. Number 2, I'm not sure it's your show. You can run it the way you want, but I learned a long time ago that when you have detractors coming in and constantly wanting to argue about stuff, especially things that have already been established, that's just a waste of time. So that's just my opinion. But I would recommend keeping the detractors away. Number 2, every civilization that was ever successful was run by a homogeneous group of people. Every single time. I don't care what color they were, what race they were. No nation ever succeeded as a multicultural nation. Not one time in history.
Wait.
Okay?
America succeeded for 200 fucking years.
Hang on. I'm sorry, Dan. Hang on. I didn't mute him.
This country, okay, the people that founded it, the people that ran it to become the greatest nation that ever existed, as far as we know, was one group of people, homogeneous until the 1960s. Okay? That is a fact. When you start allowing people that don't belong to that group in, you get the chaos we see today. And there's one group of people led by Jacob Javits and the rest of his little hat-wearing band that destroyed our immigration policy in 1965, and we've been in chaos ever since. And we're going the same way as every other empire that embraced multiculturalism and massive immigration. They know that will destroy us because it's destroyed every other civilization we've created. So obviously it's going to do it again, and it's working very well. So the corollary of that is, obviously, if you want to fix the problem, go back to what works and abandon this Jewish bullshit of multiculturalism that has been foisted upon us. When you go to Israel, who runs Israel? Jews run Israel. Who runs China? Chinese run China. All right? If you want a successful country or an empire, either one, it's got to be one group of people running the show, just like it was in the United States of America up until the 1960s, okay? That's the way it stays homogeneous. That's the way it stays with everything flowing properly and everybody does well, okay? Now, does that mean other groups of people don't get to say how we run our country? Absolutely. That's the way it's supposed to be. I can't go to Israel and tell them how to run their country. They'd laugh me out of the country. I can't go to Sierra Leone and tell them how to run their country. They'd laugh me out of there. I can't go to China and tell them how to run their country. They'd laugh me out of there. And they should. I wouldn't even have the balls to try to tell them how to run their country. I'm not part of their crowd, and I can deal with that. So why is it so hard for people in this country to understand that for over 200 years we stayed homogeneous as far as who ran the country as the Founding Fathers intended, if you read the Federalist Papers and the Constitution together, and you study history, which all the Founding Fathers, all the philosophers were very much excellent students of world history. They knew multiculturalism doesn't work. And that's why the great experiment here in the United States was to set it up that we, the founding people from Europe, this was our land, we were going to run it, and that's just the way it is. And if people don't like it, they can leave. All right? So the question I've got is, do we want to get back to what works and dedicate ourselves to doing that, or are we going to spend all our time sitting here arguing with people who don't have a clue about real history or historicity? They just want to sit there and argue all this semantics and all this other bullshit. They don't have a clue about real history, obviously. So we're going to waste our time arguing with fools, or do we want to get the guys that are going to fix the country, which is our people, armed with both knowledge and weapons, who are going to frickin' take this country back the way our founding fathers did it in 1775. All right? So that's the question. Which one do we want to do? Because if the way everybody wants to go is to sit here and argue with fools, then I've got better things to do.
Yeah. No, I agree with you, Dan. But the problem is we're so entrenched now with a multicultural society. What do? How do we separate the people without it turning violent? And because nobody wants violence, but how are we going to convince the people in even all through up and down the corporate chain that this is the way it's got to go back to? I mean, obviously, I'm going to say it right now, and I don't care if they flash bang my house tomorrow morning. The only way is going to be war, because I can't see us talking our way out of this.
Oh, I've said this from day one. There's been 109 countries that ban these people, these so-called Zionists, these Bolsheviks. 109 countries, ban them and rid them of their problem. That was the solution. It's time to make it 110.
Yeah, I'll bring the caller back on. I won't bring him back on, but if you're gonna start with the nonsense, then that's fine. I mean, if he agrees with Dan, what does he think this is gonna be? We're gonna sing "We Are the World." It doesn't work. It doesn't work in America. But I'll bring him back on and make a comment. Go ahead, Warren. I'll let you make your comment. Go ahead.
When you look at the various white populations that settled what become the United States, they were from different class segments. The indentured servants were not of the same class as the landowners and the colonial officials there. So you have this continuation. You have this continuation of class distinction among white. There is no such thing as white unity. White unity doesn't exist. That's a myth.
Okay. All right, Warren. All right, hey, Dan, he's saying that white unity doesn't exist. Well, that's a crock of baloney because it's worked in America in the beginning. What do you got to say to that, Dan?
Be back. Yeah, if I drop you, I don't know. It's all strange.
I don't know if Dan's back on there or not. Anybody who's calling in, you got to press 1. You got to press 1 on your phone if you want to get on. 337. Go ahead. Oh, I'm sorry, I just unmuted one guy by accident. 337. Go ahead.
Man, I don't know what.
Hi, how are you?
All right.
This is all
I'm calling in for advice. From you, Joseph.
Yeah, I'm in Miami.
I got someone else talking.
I can't.
I got 8 people talking at once here.
Yeah, I know. I can hear everybody talking in the background. Go ahead.
All right. Well, because I keep hearing people. I don't know what the hell.
Yeah, and I'm going to mute that. I muted it. Go ahead.
Okay, thank you. So listen, because of inflation, I had to move back in with my parents. My brother did the same thing. Don't ask. It's been a nightmare a couple of years, and you can imagine why and who's responsible. Now I got a situation here. My older brother, God bless him, great guy. He's trying to find work. He's trying to do his best. And he is just continually berated by my mother. And it's painful to watch. It's like we're little kids again. It's like being back in the family home. We are. I don't know what to do about it. She's always on about his looks. She knows that's where it gets him. I think he's a fine-looking guy. Who cares? But she's always on about his looks. And I don't know what to do. It's just a very tense, terrible situation. I feel bad for him. He's a fan of your show. He's here, too. But it's just, I don't know what to do. Because it's like we're little boys again living at home. And I'm ready to pull my hair out.
Why can't he find work? There's a good economy out there. Why can't he find work?
Well, we don't have the best economy. It's not he's getting work here and there, and he's going to move out. But I just don't know. It's getting so tense between those two, and I don't want him, attacking her. But also, she's so vicious with him. I don't know exactly what to do about it.
Well, I'm not Dr. Phil, so I can't help you out there as far as your family problems.
You're smart. I know you're smart because I listened to you. Hang on, I'm going to bring him on. Howard. His name's Howard. Yeah. Hello?
Yeah, go ahead, Howard.
Well, I had a rough weekend, because, I try to check in on my mom and make sure she's okay and help her out around the place. But it always makes me feel bad,
How does she make you feel bad? How does she make you feel bad?
Well, like the other day, she goes up to me. She goes, so many people tell me how handsome you are. Okay? And I go, that's nice, thank you. And then she starts, it's always a backhand. Then she starts muttering to herself. She goes, geez, I never thought of you as handsome. Ha, ha, ha,
Well, I don't know what to tell you. Maybe your mother thinks you're an ugly duckling. I don't get it. If people are saying you're handsome, then I don't know. Maybe your mother shouldn't be so interested in your looks.
Well,
that's what I would tell her. That seems a little odd.
She's older, but I know she knows fully what she's saying because she listens to your show. She follows every word. Like she's with it. She knows what she's doing, and she knows how to turn the screw.
So she knows how to push your buttons then, huh?
Right, and then I want to rip into her, and I want to go, people who are so upset with themselves, they can't say anything good about other people because they have such a bad self-image. That's what I want to say to her. They can't imagine something good came out of them. But I don't want to hurt her.
What'd she say about that when you do that? What does she say about that when you do that?
Well, then she starts crying. I tried to be a good mother. I always did the best by you.
Where's your dad at? Where's your dad?
He's around. He's got a little more years on him, and he's not all completely there. But sometimes he jumps in too.
Yeah. Well,
and there's two people ganging up on me, and they're old. I don't want to beat them up.
Well, it sounds odd. You don't want to beat up your parents now. Don't go beating up your parents.
Hold on, let me ask you a question.
No,
wait,
I don't mean
wait
physically.
A minute. Both of these brothers live in the same home with their parents now, and how old are you guys?
I just turned 46, and I know, and you're right. I get it.
No,
I'm also
I'm
taking
asking
care of them.
How old's your brother?
I'm also taking care of them. He's 30.
Okay, I did that myself. I'm 50 now, and I had to move in, but I had to quit a job and take care of my mom and my dad, both of which have passed now. But here's the thing: I know what you're trying to say. You think that they're looking down on you or say bad things about you because they're not in the right state of mind. Well, if that's the case, you have to understand one thing. If you're not working and you're not going out and doing something,
I can hear you, Mike. Hang on.
If you're not bettering yourself, they're looking at you like, hey, they brought you into this world, and when they did that, at the time they did it, they were working. They provided for their family. They think that you're living off of them. Okay? It's not a good thing. It's not a bad thing. But you can't hold that against them because their beliefs are of exactly what we're trying to say. You've got to, if everybody wants to be equal, everybody's hand fits a broom the same way I say it. Everybody's got to provide and do the best. Now, when you don't do that and you sit in that basement or you sit at the house and you don't do anything except maybe watch TV or live off their money, they're gonna give you a hard time. So I don't understand why.
Hang on.
I mean, you know, and to say you beat them up is not a good thing. You know, you have to understand the anger there. It's not anger towards you. It's anger towards you not doing what they think is the best for you.
She's taking the phone now. She's taking the phone. Hang on. Her name's Ray.
Hello? Yeah.
What?
Why are you putting your son down so bad for?
What? There's a terrible noise. What is that noise?
Bullshit. I knew this was bullshit, Joe. Fuck these guys. This is all
Don't
bullshit.
curse at me. What is that noise?
Who is this on the phone now?
I hear a zipper.
The guy from New York
This
City,
is Ray.
or whatever they are.
This is Ray.
Now.
I can't hear with a zipper sound. Now listen. I never considered him handsome, so what? So what?
Are you a man or a woman?
Yeah, you're a man or a woman.
And you should watch your tongue. I'm an older woman. You should be respectful.
Well, you sound like you got an Adam's apple. That's why.
First of all, you have terrible sound. You have terrible sound on the show. Everyone's talking, and there's a zipper sound. You hear that, like a ripping.
Yeah, I hear it.
I want to talk to you, Joseph, and have a civilized conversation. But with that man yelling, I can't do it. Please.
Well, what do you want to talk to me about? What do you want to talk to me about, real quick? Because I got a bunch of people on the line. What do you need?
I know, and I'll be brief. He lives with me. He's under my roof, okay? I never asked to have him here, and I don't mean to belittle him, okay? But it's true what the gentleman was saying. He's 46 years old. He's not looking for work. I'm not saying he's a bum, but he's not far off. So when I say things to him, maybe it's because we're stuck in this house living together.
Okay, time to kick them out then. That's what I would say. Just kick them both out. Put them on the street.
You know,
you're 46 years old. Go fend for yourself.
I try to do tough love. You know, I say, yeah, I don't think you're so handsome. You smile like a mongoloid.
Sounds like
he doesn't like that.
Let me see if Mike wants to give this guy some advice. Mike, you want to give these people some advice real quick? Mike, you there from Florida? I don't know if Mike can hear me or not.
He looks like the elephant man.
Yeah, I can hear you, Mike. You listen to these people calling in wanting some advice about their two sons living at home. Yeah, go ahead, Mike.
Can you hear me?
People talking.
Can you get all that background noise to stop?
Please.
Yeah, go ahead. Hang on. Let me mute this caller. I don't know who this is with the background noise, but I'm going to go ahead and mute everybody. Go ahead, Mike. Go ahead.
Yeah, just for some, again, I'm winging it here, okay? I got your show on my phone. I got my desktop open with Zoom. Dan left because of all the crappy noise and BS that was going on for the last 5 minutes. I actually accidentally, because earlier Dan said everybody mute, and I ended up muting myself, which means the people on Zoom couldn't even hear your show because I have to be unmuted for them to hear the phone on my desktop, right? And then on top of that, Joe, don't ever mute me because we're doing this together, obviously, trying to coordinate with,
right.
Me.
Okay, I didn't know.
Yeah.
All I hear is background noise, you know? So I'm like, what the hell is this?
Right.
So go ahead.
Yeah. Don't ever mute me because we're working this together, and I won't interrupt. Just occasionally I might say, hey, to try to get in.
No, you're fine. Go ahead.
Means,
no, you go ahead, Mike. Go ahead. I can hear you clearly now. What do you think of this caller that's calling in about their two children living at home? What is this?
Well, I didn't hear all of that, to be honest, because I'm having to run back and forth to cook my wife.
I bet you didn't.
But what? And what was the gist of it?
This one there. I'll unmute this person. Go ahead, 337. Go ahead. I got Mike from Florida on from righteousarmy.org.
Hi. This is Howard. You were talking to my mom before, Ray. Now listen. Do you think it's right, Joe? Do you think it's right when a mother says to her son, I don't care the age, that I make an aborted baby look like Cary Grant? Do you think that's a nice thing to say to a child of any age?
I would say no. That's not a nice thing to say to a child, no.
I thought.
But you know what? It's time to pack up and leave. Then I would say separate yourself from your mother. And your mother doesn't love you. I'd say get the heck out of there. Why move back in with her?
You can't. Excuse me, Joe. You can't say I don't love him. Okay, I do love him.
Doesn't
but I
sound
don't
like
have to put up with nonsense. Excuse me.
No, you don't have to put up with nonsense either. But he's 46 years old. It's time to get out on his own.
When he was born, I thought the doctors were doing a candid camera prank on me because he was so ugly. He wasn't ugly. He was ugly, baby.
Unbelievable.
You know. They put the diaper.
I don't know, Mike.
They put the diaper around his face. They didn't know.
Oh Lord. All right. You're muted. You're done. All right. What are you thinking? This is what I got to put up with, Mike. You believe this crap? Mike, can you hear me? I didn't mute you, Mike. I know I didn't mute you. All right. Let me bring back Mr. Warren, since nobody's talking right now. Mike, are you there or not? All right. I don't know where he is. All right. Go ahead there, Mr. Warren. Go ahead. You want to make your comments now? Our racists are off the line, as you claim. You said we're all white racists on the line right now. I don't know why. What was said that was racist? I don't know.
Let me finish my point. You know, during the Civil War, there were many counties in these southern states. In Louisiana, we call them parishes. There were a few counties and parishes where the people refused to go fight in the Civil War because they believed that was a rich man's war. And up north, like in places like New York, the wealthy whites were able to pay a certain amount of money so their son wouldn't have to fight. But the poor whites had to go fight in place of the wealthy white who paid a certain amount of money. That's why you had something called the draft riot in New York, where these poor Irish people became angry because they had to go fight in the Civil War, and they attacked black people. So the class structure among whites is real. They are wealthy.
All right, so you're back on the class structure thing. Okay, we bring five. All right, Warren.
Whites.
All right, Warren. Let me bring 551 on. Go ahead.
Joseph.
Yes.
Oh, you hear me? Okay. I just I want to get to what he was saying in a second, even though it's a lot of nonsense. The two guys with the parents there. I get what the other gentleman was saying. I get what you were saying. It's time to move out. I agree. But I will tell you, it is so horrible, I don't care what age your child is, to give them a complex, let's say horrible things about their looks, to tear them down. I mean, that's how you create really messed up adults when you're doing that to kids. See, you sound like a wicked woman.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, but you got wickedness out there in the family homes out there across America, so what are you going to do? You know, we could go into every single house and straighten out everybody. You got to separate. You know, like you said, move out, kind of move on.
No, you can't. Excuse me. You can't save everybody. No, but I mean, I came from an abusive household myself. You know, my mother would say things. I'm a horrible monster. You know, I'm a terrible. I'm a demon. All these things because I was just being a kid. I wasn't doing anything terrible. Knock over a bottle, run around the house or something. Usually a bottle that she'd been drinking. And then she'd say, yeah, I'm a devil, I'm horrible. You know, imagine calling your child a monster.
Now, do you think this is a problem that really we should be talking about and facing? Is this the problem that's facing the communities, especially the white community out there today? I mean, I mean, Mike, go ahead. You want to comment on this?
Yeah. Everything is being discussed tonight. This is what the Black brothers aren't seeing. It's all by design. The division, the stupefaction, the getting people to become alcoholics, the getting people to destroy their bodies with ink and graffiti, the thing about getting people to, smoke cigarettes, it's about stupefying, dumbing down, and destroying humanity. And it's about merging and melding all the races and cultures together so there is no more true diversity and uniqueness so that they can rule over them all. That's what it's about.
But do we have to be careful to go out there and say the Jew is doing it? That's what Warren was saying. He's saying we're using the Jew as the scapegoat. I mean, no, we're not saying Jew, right?
That's why I always call it the Jew psyop. Again, read Revelation 2:9 and 3:9. There's a group of people that have hijacked Judaism, and they've done it for thousands of years. So in that sense, we can say the Jews. But, you'd have to clarify at least by saying there's good Jews and bad Jews. Just like there's good Catholics and bad Catholics, or good Christians and bad Christians. I mean, the bad Jews are really not even Jews. They've hijacked Judaism. They are the Khazarians. They're the bad bloodline of Esau. It's all biblical. And they're the ones that own the Fed and own the banks, the world banks. They're the ones that have the New World Order.
What about this Black Panther guy that called in, Mike, this guy for the 5%er there? You heard what he had to say in the beginning. I know that.
Well,
comment back on what he's saying, because I know he's still listening. Go ahead.
Well, he probably has a lot of good, valid concerns as a black man who also believes in his racial identity, which he should. All right? He hopefully acknowledges that the Negro black race of peoples have been exploited massively, and they've been the whole nigger thing, the N-word, the whole nigger thing. It's been created. My nigga gangster rap music. Oh, hey nigga, yo my nigga, you my nigga. All that nigger crap. That's exploitation of blacks. That in itself was created by the same people. They own Hollywood. They own the media. They own the banks. They own it all. They're controlling everything. They're smart because they want to dominate and have control over the entire world, over all peoples, over all races. So there's blacks out there that don't necessarily understand that to the fullest degree, and they get caught up in the psyops that are thrown out there. Racism is a psyop because, like I said earlier, I wrote a blog on it. There's two definitions or interpretations of the word racism. There's the mainstream media-driven that most people are familiar with, which is all about division, divisiveness. My Zoom just went off, by the way, because I don't pay for Zoom anymore, so it just shut down. I only had Alan on there who was streaming.
That's all right.
But it's all,
that's all right. We got to try to rig it up
about,
where we don't have these technical issues, and these problems.
No,
we try to unmute Cave. Cave's been waiting patiently. But I forgot who 4-1. Oh, Josh is up there, too, but I don't know if he wants to say anything. He's been staying pretty silent there. He's usually all right with the background noise, so let me unmute him. He usually stays pretty quiet.
I got the point exactly.
Yeah, I was trying to say something before, but I couldn't because I was muted.
Yeah. I wanted to mute everybody because there was too much damn background noise, But Mr. Warren there, I don't know if he... about the arguments, Mike, where Dan was getting frustrated with the arguments. But these are the problems that we're going to have to come into. These are the conflicts we're going to have with society. We've got to talk it out.
That's right.
But we don't want to go bring it to the guns,
And that's what we're doing here is we're actually having the only genuine conversation on race.
Yeah, you're on.
Am I on, Joe? Okay, let me see this. Let me see the flaw in y'all analysis. You are evading class differences in society. You all are pretending like there is some white unity that exists. There is no white. It never did exist.
The class.
Okay, it never did exist.
The class
you have powerful, wealthy, elite, highly educated whites who exploit poor, working class whites. And
but who created those class of people? Who created that problem, Warren? Hang on.
They are transferred from Europe. Fighting against the monarchy, fighting against the monarchy in England, in France, in Germany, was fighting against the inherited elites, such as the monarchy.
I don't think that's what was going on.
That was transferred here. So the colonists fought against the king in England. They didn't want to be over a king.
That's not why they were fighting the king.
Those same elite people replicated an elite system based on class here. That's why when the Constitution talked about voting was for white males who owned property. Later on, it expanded to white males who didn't have property under Andrew Jackson.
No,
the class
that's not
structure
true.
you have in this country.
He hasn't even gone back far enough, period. He hasn't gone back far enough to understand that the same people that we're talking about that caused the division amongst all of us are these
Sir, I know Jews are the problem. Jews are the problem for everything. I know Jews are, for you. Jews are the problem for everything.
I got to mute you. You're yelling over them. Go ahead, Tave. Hang on. I got 773. Tave, hang on. I got 773. I just unmuted. That's a new number. Go ahead, 773. You want to say something?
Yeah, I'm calling because you're going to mute an old lady who calls you. You're really that big a man that's what you have to do to mute me?
Well, no. First of all, it was too much background noise, number one. And you're not making any realistic points. Yeah. You were having background noise. Well, what is it you need? What is it you need that I can help you with?
He needs. I'll tell you what it is. So what? If my son says, "Who told you I was handsome, Mom?" and I say, "Helen Keller."
Okay,
so
now
what?
listen, if that's the main problem, though, that you're facing today, if that's the main problem is if your son is ugly or not, we're talking about other big issues here, about the problems that we face as a country and in the world, the New World Order, and you're talking about what your son is ugly or not. Do you understand?
I think that's a great call.
And I'll tell you, he needs to shut up. And I'll tell you something. Excuse me? A psychiatrist, huh? You think I need a psychiatrist? I did the best I could with my children.
All you over there need a psychiatrist. Why you put up with you? Why you put up with them? You need to get help. And drugs, too.
First of all, I have a name. My name is Ray.
Mix some drugs
My name is Ray. I think you're a boy trying to act like a man. My name is Ray. You can address me by my name, my Christian name. First of all, Ray. And I'll tell you something.
Ray. All right, Ray.
My son.
Ray. When
they circumcised him, I thought it was the wrong end because he had a big nose.
All right, you're off. All right, muted.
Don't you dare mute me, you son of a bitch. Who the hell do you think you are? Who the hell do you think you are?
How are you still on here? What number are you calling in from now? Hang on, there you go.
The cockroach.
Boy, they infested my show today, huh?
Yeah.
Well, they must have been waiting for this show to come on, huh? What is this?
I think we should find her a psychiatrist.
Yeah, I know. What am I, Dr. Phil?
Sounds like Warren put him up to that to call so that we would be racist towards him.
I know. Oh, my goodness. All right. Now, Warren's talking about now, again, Mike. Are you there, Mike? Can you hear me?
Yeah.
I didn't mute you, Mike. All right, Mike.
All right.
Again, these are the problems that we're going to have to face today. You just heard that stupidity. That was from, I guess they're whites. I don't know, or whatever. But then we got Warren, people like Warren out there. You say, yeah, we got to embrace what they say because they may feel wronged or not, but they don't care. They can't stand us. They don't want to work with America. They hate America, Mike, and they're part of the problem.
Yes.
How are we going to weed these people out? They're just not going to pack up and leave. They're not going to change their mind, right?
I don't think the whole issue. Educate them.
I was asking Mike first. Go ahead, Mike.
Yeah, the whole issue again, just nobody ever addresses it. First, it comes down to the righteous versus the unrighteous. Those that are seeking the Creator on high genuinely, and those who don't give a damn about that. That's the ultimate division to begin with. And the people that own the banks and create all the divisions and psyops and class racism and class struggles, the people that create all of that are the ultimate godless, communist, New World Order, one world government agenda-minded people to begin with. That's their objective, is to control the world, literally conquer all nations and control the world. Now, if you want to liken that to the Bible and say that's the biblical account of Satan saying, I'll rise myself up and be like the Most High, and this is Satan's world or whatever, there's religious-minded people that will put that application to it. But the bottom line on it is that there is a bad bloodline. It is biblical. It goes all the way back, and it's those people that, again, I always make it clear it's a Jew psyop because they've used that to be able to pigeonhole people. Oh, you're an anti-Semite. Oh, you hate the Jews. That's all part of their strategy.
But what about these people that just called in, Mike? These other people, that Ray woman, and the other one there were two sons calling in.
That was a crank call. That was a crank call. I'm surprised.
That kind of figured it was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that
Unbelievable.
was a Jewish person, by the way. That was a Jewish person doing the crank call. You know,
really?
So maybe they're So maybe they're
Oh,
trying
yeah, I
to
picked up on that right away.
Yeah. So
well, I was a little skeptical there for a minute, and then obviously they started talking, and then when they started saying you're a very smart man, and then I said, all right, now I know they're not. Nobody's gonna come here and compliment me.
There's a show called The Jerky Boys, and there's guys that speak just like that, and that's exactly what they do. Is they make infiltration calls, and it's unbelievable. They sound just like them.
Oh boy.
Don't eat that.
All right. Well. All right. Well, anyway.
There was another guy who was on here earlier. That younger guy that was, I think his name was Joe Malone. Correct? That's the same guy that called in that had some problem with, I think he went to jail or was falsely arrested. And
where is Joe Malone? Where did Joe Malone go? He was on here, and then he disappeared.
That's the same guy that called in before, wasn't it?
Yeah. You're right. You're right about that. Yeah, you're right about that. And I still got him on the line here. The crank callers here. The 773. Here, let's unmute. I'm gonna mute him one more time. Ray, is that you?
You know, you're a crank. You ever think about that?
Now, why would you call
joke.
into a podcast show and start talking about these types of issues? Why are you trying to do that?
Because I listen to your show and I like your show. And I had my sons listen to your show. And they were complaining. I said, call Joseph. Call Joseph.
Sounds like an Adam Sandler thing here.
And
Adam Sandler's a Jew, by the way.
I didn't know.
Can I say
Shut
something,
up.
Joe? Can I say something?
You Jew on the brain. You with the Jew on the brain.
I got to mute him again. All right. Turn into arguments. All right. We can't have arguments, so maybe another time then. If they want me to be Dr. Phil for him. But Joe Malone, yeah,
I'd rather argue with Warren than argue with that.
Yeah. Warren's still on the line.
Can I say something, Joe?
Yeah, go ahead, Warren.
All right, Joe, you often talk about your experience in prison and what you've observed in prison and the difficult time now. But wealthy whites don't have those problems. They don't have the issue of being treated unfairly.
You want to know who was in G Block and Gardner Correctional Institution when I was in there? Michael Skakel. He's a cousin of the Kennedys. Rich guy, Warren.
Yeah, but
he's shot right there, brother.
Joe, if you do an overall analysis of the white people that go in prison like you were, they do not have those pedigrees of the Kennedys, okay?
Of course. Rich white people don't get arrested and go to prison. What's that mean? What's that mean, Warren?
Let me tell you, that guy that you said is kin to the Kennedys, I guarantee you he's not going to have no problem getting a job or anything like that or getting a loan from a bank. Because his family
he was doing 15 years to life. He murdered Martha Moxley in Stamford, Connecticut.
I guarantee when he gets parole and all that, he's not going to have the same kind of money problems you and your buddies have.
But what's that mean, Warren? What's that mean?
It means you
people
have class,
make money.
You have class distinction, and people of the upper class are well connected and are able to get breaks for themselves because of who they know. And
no, they don't get breaks, Warren. Warren, if you be quiet for a second, I'll name you another case in Connecticut. Alex Kelly. He raped 4 college girls, and he got 20 years in prison for rape. He didn't get away with it. He was a rich college kid. Okay? So that's a crock of baloney. A rich white college kid. His money didn't buy him freedom.
It's not the point that he'll get away with it, but I guarantee you disproportionately, people like him of his class don't wind up in jail.
I just told you, he got 20 years. He got 20 years.
Warren, you say the same thing, just like you talk about black drivers that get more harassed or more targeted, but yet you don't say disproportionately that those drivers that are stopped don't have a driver's license, are breaking the law, and they are arrested.
Sir, look, I've already listen. But listen, I've already conceded defeat. Black people ain't. Hold on, wait a minute. I've conceded defeat. Black people ain't no good. Black people are criminals. Black people break the law. I've conceded defeat.
No, that's not true, Warren. That's not true. That's not true.
I'm conceding defeat.
Yeah, go ahead, Mike. Hang on. Go ahead. Mike wants to say something. Go ahead, Mike.
Yeah. Warren, I know he's probably being a little facetious or sarcastic saying that. But he's right in the sense of going back to the point I've made. That's what they've done. They've exploited the black Negro race of peoples and turned them into that. They have literally exploited them and created that reality for the black race in the societies that they
When you
created.
say they, who's they, Mike?
Again, those that own the Fed, own Hollywood, own the banks.
Mike, let me say this, Mike. With everything, Mike, hold on, let me say this, Mike. Everything you're saying, Mike, everything you're saying, Mike, Hitler and the Nazis said the same thing, and it made it easier for them to kill 6 million Jews. I don't agree with your line of thinking at all. I think you're being an escapist.
I think I lost your point there. But first of all,
I gotta mute you, Dave. I gotta mute you. That's for Mike.
Hold on.
Mike, here's my point, Mike. Wait, let me say this, Mike. Here's my point.
Warren, hold on. You made a comment, and I'm commenting back. You need to research the quote-unquote alleged 6 million Jews, first of all, brother, to get more educated on the reality of that. And you need to incorporate into that the fact that there were 30 million Poles and Germans that were massacred and starved to death. All right, so this little sad sob story about 6 million Jews, which itself is a psyop, ain't nothing to hang your hat on and think you got a winning argument, number one. And number two, the simple fact of the matter is not only have blacks been exploited and turned into this nigger society, but you're right, the whites have as well been exploited by the same group of people who created the class warfare, and they're doing it to the Asians. They've done it in Asia. They own the corporations in Asia. Who do you think's working in the sweatshops in Asia? Not blacks and not whites. So take a shot at it, right? They're being exploited. So the people that are in charge of exploiting others for their gain at the expense of everybody else, which includes breaking down the nations, amalgamating all the races, forced multiculturalism, where people are having – look, people aren't racist in this media-driven sense that's put out there, and you're caught up in that. That's not true. In fact, very few people, and I've been applauded for my definition on what racism really is by many people, but very few people are even aware of the definition that I put on it, which is the accurate definition. There's a creator, God Almighty. He created all the unique races of peoples, and if you truly believe in the creator, God Almighty, then you believe in that value of the uniqueness and the genuine diversity of all of them. Fortunately, Jeremiah tells us that the Creator will restore the nations, so people will be put back into their prospective places. My son made a good point to me yesterday when I was speaking to him. He said, Dad, God made the USA to come about with all this strife with multiculturalism for the express purpose of getting people to have to come together and deal with all these differences so that in the future there is no group of people, white, black, red, yellow, or otherwise, that are going around trying to conquer the world. They're going to actually respect and appreciate all the different nations so they can maintain their unique cultures.
Can I respond to you, Mike?
Go ahead.
Notice what you and Joe all have done. Not one time.
Alan, I muted you because Warren's talking. Hold on, Alan. Go ahead, Warren.
Okay, not one time in my presentation.
Alan's next, but go ahead, Warren.
Yeah, not one time in my presentation did I address any grievance by black people. I focused solely on the class distinction among whites, and you guys are very uncomfortable with that. I can take you right now.
What's your point?
I can take you. Let me finish. I can take you right now to Mountain Brook, outside of Birmingham. Mountain Brook is one of the most expensive zip codes in the country. These are not Jews. These are Southern Baptists. These are Lutherans, and these are Presbyterians. I can take any one of you on the phone to their house, and they'll look at you like a nigger because you are below them. They'll see you as below them.
Right,
because you're not of their ilk. You're not of their type of class.
Into the racism psyop. They've been sucked into the racism psyop. They see racism in a way where they tuck their tail.
No, these are white people. These are white people who despise poor white people.
Right, but who also will take the despise them in what way? Clarify that for us, Warren. Despise them in what manner?
They feel that you are not of their ilk. You're not of their class status. You don't have the type of upbringing and the type of what you call pedigree that deserves you to be equal with them. This is real among white people.
Yeah, we've already established that.
No,
class,
you're just saying Jews. You're saying everything is Jews. Jews. That's your escapism.
No, I didn't say that at all. You didn't hear nothing I said.
Well,
I
that's what some of you are saying. I'm telling you, they are Anglo-Saxon whites who are Protestant and are Catholic, who are wealthy, rich, elite, who see you guys as a basket of deplorables.
Are they racist?
They're classes. They're white like you are, but they're
Are they
racist?
Are they racists?
Yes, they're racist against black people and other non-whites as well. But for whites who are not of their class, but for whites who are not of their class, because what they have always done, they've always used you guys. You see,
so what
as
is right?
their
And I've already pointed out that they're exploiting and they're creating class warfare. They've created that just like they've created racism. So what is your point about the class divisions or the class warfare? What's
very excellent. I've been waiting for that question. The point is this: how come you guys don't get mad with those rich, elite, wealthy, educated whites like you do with Jews and blacks?
It's not about Jews and blacks.
That's all you guys say. They're the scapegoats for with everything wrong in America. Jews and blacks.
No,
that's all I hear you guys say on this show. Jews and blacks.
You've been caught up in the psyops.
No, I'm going about what you all are saying and what Joe plays to start the show out.
What we're saying is there's only one true division, and that's a righteous division or a moral versus immoral. That's the only true division. But those that are in charge of the narratives, because they own and control Hollywood, they own and control the media, they own and control the banks, they own and control it all, they put out the narratives. They're psyops, literally. They have sucked people into a variety of psyops regarding class, regarding race, regarding the whole 9 yards. Go ahead. Alan's been wanting to say something. Go ahead, Alan. Unmute first, Alan. Unmute yourself. Unmute yourself, Alan. Alan, unmute yourself. Go ahead, Alan in Colorado. Hit
First thing I wanted to cover, it's way too far under the bridge. However, what you are talking about now, I will reinforce. The fact is, these people don't care. The fact is, George Soros, a known racist, is the one that's behind the BLM and their financing. All you got to do is go to the bottom of their website and look. I mean, the whole point is to cause unrest in America, okay, in order to soften this up. I mean, this is literally dissidents that come into America that deliberately want to rile us up, and they tell us the only thing that we can do is hold a crayon-colored sign to this nice police officer standing in the street, and that's going to change the world. No, because none of these people are educated enough in order to know where to go to make a complaint. I mean, these things have been going on forever. We had the Ku Klux Klan Act when everyone sat there and just started yelling, well, I don't know what the hell to do about it. They created the Ku Klux Klan Act. Not once, but twice. You will find huge revisions. You know, and they don't even teach that in history. They have 2 or 3 sentences they cover in history now in high school. They used to be, you couldn't, graduate high school without understanding of the Constitution, understanding of your citizenship, and pledging allegiance. Now it's catch if you catch can. So, the degradation has happened with us, and every generation literally has gotten dumber from this Common Core. But introduced to this Common Core is a bunch of useless steps to do rather than just getting to the problem. And if they can keep you doing these useless steps over and over again, you start missing them if they're not there. And you invent them as you go. Look at how many Karens that we have, inventing things as they go, because it just doesn't seem right to them. And I'm sorry, we can see as many idiots being white, black, Hispanic, Jewish, it doesn't matter. The fact is, we're not walking around with the education we should have. And people really do need to start listening to their elders. I'll leave it at that.
Yeah, that's a profound point Alan just made about education. And I'm not talking about mainstream education, because mainstream isn't education, it's indoctrination. True education is looking at the true history of people who are genuinely on the side of right, on the side of morality, on the side of God, on the side of national preservation, racial preservation, and integrity. Those are in the righteous camp, not the ones that are trying to tear it all down and break it all down. And the vast majority of people are caught up in all the psyops about what it's about, which is falsehood, and therefore their minds are confused. With all due respect to Warren, I love Warren. I think he's got some genuine concerns. He just has the wrong idea, because his mind is coming from that perspective that's relative to the psyops they've put out about what racism is and what classism is. They've created all of that.
Yeah. Anybody else wants to talk, press 1 on your phone, please, 657-383-0616.
In Warren's defense, he has his experience in life, and he has his viewpoint of the way he sees things. It's the way he sees it, right, wrong, or different.
Right. True.
Yeah. He's been programmed to think like this. He's been programmed to respond to talking points like this. Like we brought, I knew that intro I played was going to ignite people like Warren.
Let me ask a question. Let me ask a question, everybody. So you all do not believe that wealthy, elite, educated whites look down on guys like you? You all don't believe that?
What? Where did that come from? We've acknowledged through and through that there's.
That's what I've been talking about. That's what I've been talking about ever since I was led on to the platform. Is class distinction among white people.
Nobody's denied such people exist. To the contrary,
all you said, you kept saying it was Jews.
Like you described, bro. That must be really hard to find. I've been all over the nation. I've never bumped into the neighborhood that you're describing, though.
That's because there are a lot of neighborhoods you won't be allowed into, sir.
I'm white. I should be allowed in there.
There's a lot of enclaves. Look.
Okay.
Look.
I've worked at companies for $1 million estates, $1 billion estates. I was a contractor for over 12 years working $1 million homes.
As a laborer, yes. As a laborer, yes. But socially, you're not. But you don't go golfing with those people. You don't go golfing with those people. Your children don't marry those people's children. Okay,
Warren. People are inherently judgmental, even in prejudice, based upon people's looks, period. Whether they're white or black or whatever, we see people perceive me in a certain way because I got long, scraggly hair.
Well, yeah, not only that, you take one family and they got a small clique, okay, so I'm not part of their clique. I don't give a fuck.
Right.
Yeah.
They're not part of my clique.
Well, what's the solution to fixing this problem? How do we separate ourselves from this type of thinking and programming if it's all out there and it's just being crammed down our throats to the Federal Reserve, to schools,
well, what we ought to do right here in this group is we ought to get along with each other, including Warren. You need to get along with us and you get along with him. Start there. Let's do that first.
There you go.
Right. That's right.
It's a good point. Very good point, But he won't. He won't do it, though, most likely. And just like the black Chewbacca guy that called in.
On Warren's defense, I'm sure he'd admit this, too. He doesn't know everything, and it sounds to me like he's a man who's got an open mind. He may have been hardened in his views on things, but think about it. He comes on your show all the time. Maybe some things are said that are sparking his mind to question and see things in another perspective. Maybe there's another perspective for him to achieve, just like for us, right? We're always achieving another higher understanding and awareness and perspective of things. He's here all the time. He's engaging in the conversation, so he may be well on his way to concurring much more with us, and we might be much more on our way to concurring with him, because the point Josh made is the ultimate point. We do need to be able to come together, and by communicating like we're doing, and the point you made earlier, Joe, which I piggybacked on, this conversation we're having, for decades I've heard, we need to have a serious conversation about race in this country. They don't. We're having it. we're having it because we're addressing all the underlying variables surrounding it, what it is, where it comes from, what it's really all about. That's never done because they'll never allow such a conversation in the mainstream media. I guarantee you that this Zoom recorded conversation that I've done with this show tonight, Joe, if I put it on YouTube, it will be taken down by YouTube. Why should it be taken down when it's just genuine back and forth conversation and dialogue on views and ideas and opinions? They are endeavoring to destroy intellectual pursuits, conversation, dialogue. They're opposed to that. So, because they don't want this kind of a conversation to reach the majority of
right, because they don't want the slaves
people
to come together. Because when the slaves come together, something happens in Pharaoh's court.
Right.
Well, there you go. We have it right there. I guess we'll do the closing thoughts to everybody, huh? Closing thoughts, Tave. Let's see here. Let's see. Get my thing here. We'll go. Tave's muted, so sorry, guys. I got to mute some of you. Can't just be talking and yelling over each other. Tave, closing thoughts. Go ahead.
Hey, I didn't mind being muted. I said a few things that probably needed to be heard, but that's fine. The big problem we have is people are failing to realize on all levels that this stems from a group of people that have hidden behind names and identities from their inception. They chose the path that they did for one reason, because they want world dominance. They have to be in control. Everybody else has done this thing with them. They've figured out the hard way. And for me to say that the British Crown, if everything we've ever talked about on this channel and everything we know about as far as sovereignty and everything else, if you look back to who has the biggest, we call it a beef with America, would be the British Crown. George Soros in 1992 broke the British monarchy's so-called financial system, so-called. He's a puppet for the British Crown, okay? They've used this guy now. The British are upset that the colonists here revolted, took this country, and refuted what they wanted. Now, they have driven a wedge in the groups of people like the blacks, the Mexicans. They want the open borders. They use people like Warren as an arm of their military or their presence to keep and divide everyone the way they are. Uneducated, unknowing of the past. The history written by those who win wars is not always right. It's not correct, because the flip side of that coin can show atrocities and things that need to be learned. There's so much that people don't understand about the founding of America and actually who founded it, and their unchristianity and their unbeliefs in Jesus. This land, they wholeheartedly wanted to be an experiment to see if everything could work multicultural, and it's a proven fact, like Dan said earlier. Go back, look at your history. It's self-prevailing relevance. The only thing that has shown is it does not work. Now, how do we fix it? Well, we have to stop the division. We have to start recognizing exactly who the problem is, and it still remains to this day the British Crown, under everything that we are under, a corporation, a failed corporation. And I don't know, if you're black, if you're white, if you're red, if you're brown, if you're yellow, and you want to be an American, you have to have the morals and dignity and the want to be a better person every day, the next day. If you don't have any place here, and we have to rid you of this place, because there are a lot of us that want that, however it may be. Violently, lawfully, peacefully, it doesn't matter. You cannot continue to push this agenda, because it's coming to a point where it's going to be a breaking point. And I yield.
Josh, you want to say something? Real quick.
I'll pass.
I don't know if Josh is. Go ahead, Josh. You want to say something, man?
I'll pass.
All right. Well, let's see. Matt, hey, Mike, before I get to you,
I want to say something, Joe. Joe, I want to say something.
All right. Hang on, let me mute everybody here. Oh, go ahead, Warren.
Yeah, these are my closing remarks. I want to read the last 3 paragraphs of an article. It's a review of this book I told y'all about called White Trash, The 400-Year Untold Story of Class in America. And the last 3 paragraphs of the review of this book says, the eugenics movement that swept Europe and America in the late 19th and early 20th centuries provided a veneer of pseudo-scientific plausibility to the older idea that poor whites were a separate and lower breed of humanity. As early as 1787, Thomas Jefferson wondered in his Notes on the State of Virginia, quote, the circumstance of superior beauty is thought worthy of attention and the propagation of our horses, dogs, and other domestic animals. Why not in that of man, unquote. 140 years later, Chief Justice Oliver Wendell Holmes took this reasoning to its dreadful conclusion in the infamous 1927 Buck versus Bell ruling. He justified the decision to uphold state statutes permitting compulsory sterilization with his pronouncement, quote, 3 generations of imbeciles are enough, unquote. The coda of Eisenberg's study analyzes the rebranding of white trash as an ethnic identity. Shows like the Beverly Hillbillies initiated the transformation, and today an entire genre of television capitalizes on depictions of this demographic. Swamp People, Redneck Island, Duck Dynasty, Appalachian Outlaws, Moonshiners, etc. But this mainstream visibility does not translate into the Jeffersonian idea of equality. And it's the last paragraph. It's fashionable for presidential candidates to campaign in blue jeans and eat barbecue. And it's profitable for purveyors of music, clothing, and television shows to equate identity with a set of consumer preferences. Yet those who reside on marginal land, think trailer parks as the edge of towns or beside freeways, are still mocked and denigrated. And the wealth gap in America is by many measurements wider than ever before. It's clearly advantageous for powerful businessmen or political candidates to ape the culture and values of poor whites, but such play acting doesn't mean the poor are not treated like trash. And so the question was, what happens if you take all non-white people out of the United States? Well, ladies and gentlemen, that would not solve your problem because you as white people would consume each other, fighting each other over class war. Thank you so much.
All right. Mike, you want to say something to that?
Yeah, wow, Warren, salutes to you, man. I mean, or at least to, for reading it in that book. That was about I couldn't have wrote it better. That was 100% accurate. And again, I've made the comment that those corrupt, godless powers that be within this world have not only created class warfare and racism, and they've exploited the black Negro race, but you're absolutely right. Just like they created the my nigga gangster rap crap to destroy the black culture, and actually they used that to destroy even the white culture, because aside from the examples of Duck Dynasty, you're right, they've created this Americanism idea that is hogwash, which is godless, frankly, is what it is. It's godless. Like, that's what being an American is about. I got my bill. Get her done there, boys. That redneck mentality. There's no question that in itself is a brainwashing psyop technique that they've destroyed countless millions of white Americans with that, in fact. And it's sad. But again, that's how effective it's been. The television, they own it. They own all that. So it's all by design. What do you want to say? Let me say this.
Let me say this. It's the existence, right? It's the existence of black people that prevent you all from really killing each other off. But if you take black people out of this country, you all exterminate each other, fighting each other over class stuff and culture attitudes towards each other.
Well, I don't see that blacks have anything to do with it one way or the other, preventing it.
Because black people become the scapegoats. See, we become the hated group. We become, in other words, poor whites hate black people instead of looking at the rich whites who exploit them. That's the point.
That's a valid point. That's fair. Yeah, that makes sense in that perspective. I don't necessarily agree that they'd be killing. Although you're right. I mean, going back even to 500, 600, 700 years ago, man, the Goths and the Visigoths, and we can go back even to the Greeks. I mean, there were multiple white tribes and white nations that were fighting against themselves as well. I mean, that goes back for thousands of years. But again, who was it promulgated by? Who was behind that? It's the same power, which again goes back thousands of years. It's biblical. Whether you want to call it Satan, fallen angels, a hierarchy of families who decided in this game they're going to own the world, they started. Rather than saying, hey, let's go over to Africa and try to, maybe raise up the standards and the practices and make them more godly in the different villages in Africa and in China, bring God's laws to them and let them know, this is where it gets, this can open up a whole other can of worms here, in some other conversation. But there is something to be said about God's people were put on this earth to uplift all the other creations, because it's not in the Creator God Almighty's will for people of any race, and it's predominant in the Asian cultures, to eat rats and cats and dogs and roaches and everything else. There are food laws in the Bible for a reason, for a purpose, because God created us, and therefore the food laws exist. You don't eat this and you don't eat that.
But the most teachable moments in history of white-on-white conflict is the American Civil War and World War I and World War II, where millions of people were killed.
Right.
And in the United States, almost a million people killed.
Right. On that note, the fact that you just said that, I implore you to watch Europa: The Last Battle. It's the top video on my videos page at both thebigvirushoax.com and righteousarmy.org. It's the number one top video, Europa: The Last Battle. And there's a lot of versions out there that have been messed with. The only version that's the genuine version, it's all 12 hours. It's got over, close to 3 million views, and it's got 8,000 likes to 200 dislikes. And it'll totally puts all that in perspective of where the money was and who was behind it. The Rothschilds funded every single war, from the Napoleonic Wars of 1803 to 1815 to the current modern day. They created they were the ones that were behind even the Civil War. There's things about the Civil War that people have no clue on. They've got people ignorantly thinking that was about slavery. That had nothing to do with slavery at all. If people understood the real reason behind every war, which ultimately comes right back to this group of people with all the money and all the power and all the media control. They put out false narratives in the newspapers back then to get people to go along with the war. They put the money on the winning side or the side they want to win. They're not nation building. They're world building. They have a one world order, new world order, one world government agenda. That's what they're about. So it's about breaking down tribes rather than going around thousands of years ago, as God's people were to do, and say, here's God's food laws, here's God's sexuality laws, here's God's 10 Commandments, here's how the Creator Divine expects His creation to live. No, it's been a free-for-all where you've got, all the cliches, right, that exist with, the blacks and the headhunters and the spear chuckers and the Asians eating humans and eating cats and dogs and rats. It's all godless. And on top of that, that same group is looking to break all of those nations themselves down, destroy the nation first, and then bring the nations down and merge them all together. So the only true answer to all of this, any of it, is for people to truly, genuinely surrender their lives unto the Creator, God Almighty on high, and say, here I am, take me, I'm yours, I'm teachable, teach me, let me know the truth, I'm a truth seeker. And then things will start falling in place for people.
Yep, that's right. And you go listen to Chewbacca's show or whatever, the guy that was on here in the beginning, you go listen to it, you won't get to talk on there. They'll mute you and they'll hang up on you. So, and they're not going to let people talk like I let them talk on here. So that's just, so that's a bunch of nonsense, and when people promote their shows. But anyway, listen, what's that?
But, Joe, you can talk on my show. Tell them how you can talk on my show, Joe.
Yeah, you let me talk. Yes, you did. You did. I'm not going to lie. I always try to tell the truth the best I can, you know. But American Statesman is another show. Then Lucid Libertarian, I think it is. That's how I say it, Lucid Libertarian. That's another one there. Podcast shows listen to the conservative radio on Fridays. So these shows, we're trying to unite the podcasters. That's obviously not doing well right now because nobody's doing anything. You know, it's every movement we come up with. But Mike, next time we do a show or whatever, let's try to come up with solutions, man. Come with targeted solutions that we can achieve. Maybe not solutions that are far out there that we can't achieve, you know?
I just said what the solution is, Joe, and you know it's true. Seek God first. Seek ye the kingdom of God, right? And that doesn't mean go to church and become a 501c3, I'm listening to my preacher. No, it means each individual in their own heart, in their own closet, in absolute sincerity, saying, I don't know who you are, what you are, if you are, but here I am, take me, I'm yours, and being sincere in their heart, surrendering unto God, and praying every day to be led and guided into truth and genuine understanding of what's real regarding, as Tave mentioned earlier, they create the history as well. They create the historical narratives. They create it all. It's a big fat illusion, and it's all about destroying what God made. It's about destroying humanity, destroying racial identity. It's about destroying nations. It's ultimately going to be about destroying humanity, merging vaccines and technologies through vaccines into people, getting people, to merge with computers and AI and making it fashionable and cool. Oh, wow, I can have a computer chip in my head and know everything that's on the internet? Oh, cool, I want to do that. Turning people into frickin' robots and AI just merged with technology. That's what they're about. They're godless. They're godless.
That's right.
So ultimately it's about going back to God in a genuine way, not a religious church-going way, but in a sincere and genuine way. And then those people pulling together to organize their cities and their counties and their states and taking back.
All right, Mike. Hey, thanks for everybody listening. Take care. God bless the Republic.